Are we ready, Joe?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. So welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting held Tuesday, April 12th, 2022 at 5:15. It's being held and transmitted electronically via council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan, BC. And as Mayor Day said earlier, it's being held on the unceded territory of our Subosset First Nations. And we thank them for allowing us to conduct our business here. So, introduction of any late items. It was a pretty full meeting, so I was going, oh, I hope there's no last minutes. So, with that, then we're looking for approval of the agenda. By Councillor Sandu, seconded by Mayor Day. All in favor? Okay. So now we're looking for the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting that was held on March the 8th of 2022. We're looking for someone to move. Councillor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Sandu. And there is a recommendation in there. Would anyone have any questions on it? No comments? Okay, so we're looking to move it as presented then. All in favor? Okay. Business arising and any unfinished business, there's no ongoing items. And so I don't know whether our delegation is back or not.
They're back, yeah.
They are back?
They're back, yeah.
So is it Lauren and Steve are both here? Okay. I think we're just waiting for Lauren.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening. So good morning, Lauren Schaefer and Steve Lorimer from Cowichan Lake Community Forest Co-op. And you're going to have a delegation about the tabular presentation. And so we will give you 10 minutes. And if you need more time, then we'll ask council to extend that if need be. So the floor is yours. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, Town Council. My name's Lauren Schaefer. Most of you know me. I'm the chair of the Cowichan Lake Community Forest. And a little later, I'll introduce Steve Lorimer, our forester. I want to talk to you this evening about the Cowichan Lake Community Forest Cooperative. The cooperative was incorporated August 2nd, 1995. We were the first community forest in the province, and we have served the Cowichan Lake communities of Area I, F, in the town of Lake Cowichan for 27 years. In September 10th of 2018, we were granted a new community forest license. The license was named Client Community Forest Partnership. It's a partnership between Pacheedaht First Nations and the Cowichan Lake Community Forest Cooperative. We were the first community forest in the province to actually have a partnership with First Nations. So again, our community has always been on the forefront of groundbreaking. There are now 60 community forests in the province. It's something, community forest ownership or tenure is something that is is sought out by so many communities, and unfortunately, most of them can't get one. But we were very fortunate to have one, and it brings tremendous benefits to the community. Last year, for instance, Cowichan Lake Community Forest was able to donate into the community $140,000. This year, We will be donating, and you'll see in the next number of months a number of things, big items that we're going to be donating into the community. This year, we're going to be donating $170,000. And when you think about it, that's quite something for a nonprofit organization to be able to bring into a community. Not only does it provide those benefits to the community, but it also provides many thousands of dollars of jobs throughout the Cowichan Valley and many benefits to both communities. When I say both communities, I mean the Cowichan Lake community and the Patchadat First Nations. I'm going to ask now for Steve to introduce himself, and he's going to tell you how the town council can help us. And so, Steve, will you come on?
Sure.
Sorry,
Can
before
everybody hear
we-
me?
Lauren, if you see the video button, do you want to push that so we can all see your smiling face?
It's down below, Laura. I think at the bottom.
I don't see it. Share screen.
No. There should be in the bottom left, there should be a video.
Start video.
There you go. There he is.
This technology, man, I tell you.
Okay. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I know some of you, not all of you, I don't think, but first of all, I sent some background or information to Joe. I don't know if you had a chance to distribute that to the other council members or not.
I have indeed.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. So the backgrounder piece that you have there is something that was prepared by the Community Forest Association of BC, and it pertains to all community forests. There's over 60 of them in the province currently. So I'll just go through and highlight some of the things that brought us to where we are here today. The benefits that we're able to provide from Caliat that Lauren talked about go to Patchadat and to the Cowichan Lake Community Forest Co-op. And that's based on us having a community forest harvest rate of 31,500 cubic meters roughly. BC Timber Sales gets an allocation out of that, so we end up with about 24,000. And keep that number in mind at 24,000 because that has an impact on our ability to generate revenue, and it also has an impact on if we get charged higher tax rates and that sort of thing. Community forests generate the direct benefits, as we talked about, to rural communities and First Nations. And in our case, it's primarily financial contributions, but also local jobs that are generated by the work that we do, whether it's in tree planting or forest road building or harvesting or some of the local manufacturing that goes on with logs that have come from the community forest. The community forest operates in the same rules as the rest of the forest industry does, so we don't have any special privileges in terms of that. All the legislation and regulations continue to apply. In fact, we would like to think that we're treating our forests with a little bit of extra special care. The community forest sells its timber. We don't have a manufacturing plant, so we sell our timber on the open market. We also pay stumpage, what's called stumpage, which is the taxes we pay based on cable, and they're called tabular rates. Been in existence for some time before we actually got this community forest. These tabular rates are somewhat less than what the industry people pay, but it's because community forests are generating these financial benefits to the local communities and go above and beyond in terms of some of the things that we do. And they also often end up operating in areas that are more difficult to operate in. In many cases, community course, are right around towns or even within town boundaries in some cases. In our case, I guess our contentious area is we have operations not too far from Fairy Creek. So that's created some challenges in terms of how we operate. We sell our logs on a log purchase agreement, but we have an arrangement within that we try and direct the suitable logs to places like Couch and Lumber, to Carlight, to Otter Point, which is in Ladysmith there, a pole specialty plant, and Coastland Industries, and then of course chips and that go to the local pulp mills, usually either Crofton or Harmac. Government recently put out an intentions paper, which talked about a concern, and it created concern for community forests, and that they want to revise the specific pricing policy to harmonize the rate between woodlots, community forests, and First Nation woodlot licenses. And that has caused us some concern because the likelihood of that being a beneficial thing for community forests is very low. It will probably result, or could result in increased levels of fees for us, or administration to administer it. Like the tabular rates currently come out once a year, so we know what we're going to pay. We can plan our operations. We don't have to spend a lot of administrative time. So what we're interested in, and that goes for all the community forests across the province, is having and maintaining the pricing system that makes it relatively the same, and reduces administrative overheads and costs that you would have to face otherwise. We have relatively small harvest levels compared to the major industry, and that if we have to get into a more complicated stumpage system, that means our overheads will go up, plus, of course, the stumpage that we pay will go up. And what does that mean to the local community? It means less revenue coming into the local community. If you take the cut levels that I talked about, the 24,000 cubic meters roughly we can harvest annually, and they increase the stumpage rate by $1, that's $24,000 less than you would otherwise be bringing in to the communities. And the chances of it being a $1 increase are not very likely. It's probably going to be quite a bit more than that. And so we certainly are looking for support in maintaining the current pricing policy, both from an administrative point of view and obviously a dollar cost point of view, with the benefits remaining and being retained by the communities that we're supporting in Patchett First Nation and the Couch and communities that Lauren spoke about. So that kind of summarizes the background of why we're here and what we're seeking, what we would, and what the Community Forest Association is interested in, is having a resolution submitted to the EBCM this year that would make the point to the province of BC that the tabular rate system should be maintained for community forest agreements. There's a copy of what that resolution could look like, and I can tell you that other community forests have made presentations to their town councils. Recently in the media there was Powell River had approached their community council for the same thing, and there's a couple of others. So with that, I don't want to belabor this, but if there's any questions or anything that I've gone over too quickly, I'd be happy to answer. Tim,
through the chair, thank you, Steve and Lauren, for your presentation. As most of you know, I'm the vice chair of the Couch and Lake Community Forest Co-op, and this is not new to me. I will note on top of what Lauren said that we were the first new mandated community forest with an alignment with BC Timber Sales. That was a template moving forward from former Minister Thompson and the government of the day. to accommodate BC timber sales within that. When you look at the legacies that are accommodated by our local Kalayat partnership in both communities, those will live on for millennia, some of them, and they will be benefits to both communities for years and generations to come. Last year, $100,000 donation to the Couch and Hospice, which we unfortunately may have to utilize within our family systems as time goes by, as we age. Continuous donations yearly to the Couch and Lake Food Bank, to the Community Services Hampers Fund, scholarships, implementation of projects in various areas, whether it be Yubo at Mile 77 Park, through Honeymoon Bay trail systems. So you can just see the impact that community forests have, especially on the smaller cuts. Mr. Lorimer spoke of 24,000 cubic meter annual allowable cut for us. There are many smaller entities throughout the province that are barely economical at this point with the current tabular rate. Any increase to the tabular rate on those smaller cuts will make them uneconomical and will just reduce the opportunity for legacies within those community forests. Unfortunately, we don't make decisions or resolutions at delegations, but I would request that the resolution presented be forwarded to council for consideration and input from staff for discussion at the council meeting of this month. Gentlemen, I thank you for your presentation and look forward to my colleagues' response.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Councillor McGonigal. Any other councillors or mayor wish to ask any questions? Mayor Day? You're muted, sir.
All right, we're going backwards here. So thank you very much, both of you, for coming and giving us the presentation. We had the background information that was pretty self-explanatory, and I look forward to seeing this come back to regular council. And yeah, I love what you guys do, and hope you can keep on doing it for many years. And I hope that this resolution is successful. So, Councilor McGonigal, was that a motion to move this to regular council? I would happily second that.
So all in favor of sending it to passed? Okay, thank you very much, Stephen, Lauren.
Thank you.
I
Thanks
just,
for the opportunity.
Oh. excuse me, just one Carolyn here.
I missed her in the upper corner, Councillor Austin.
I'm in the upper corner. This is like the, Steve, you don't look any different. I haven't seen you in 12, 15 years. My
It
God,
has been a while, hasn't it?
I probably look different. Don't say anything. I was with the Forest Co-op, so does Lauren, for 12 years, and I know how wonderful it is. I think it was actually our mayor, I forgot her name now. What was her name?
Mayor
Yes,
Brown.
that started it. She was sort of a mentor with me to get into politics, and she said, you need to go on. And I know what wonderful work you do, and we're so pleased that you're there. And I hope this resolution passes as well. And thank you for being part of our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're good. Anyway, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Evening.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to correspondence. And the first one is from Allison Habkirk regarding the 2022 orientation workshop. So did either our administrative officer or the mayor wish to speak on this being brought forward? Mayor Day?
Well, I'd happily turn this over to Joe, as he was the one that orchestrated all this, but I read through it today, and I'm glad to see the topics that are going to be covered on the orientation, and I'll leave it with Joe now.
Yeah, if I may, we've had previous experience with Allison Habcook, and I think she did a wonderful job with the strategic planning process. And so I thought I'd go to her and get a proposal from her. As a result, council wanting something in terms of an orientation for the upcoming new council. And so this is what she provided. I think it's a pretty reasonable proposal that she's put out here. It's supposed to be an in-person by the time this happened, which would be November 1st. After November 1st, sorry. And I think the day after. So it's really up to you whether you want to proceed with this or not.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McGonigal?
I will yield to my colleague, Councillor Sandu. I've spoken already, and I will yield the floor to her, and if you'll come back to me.
Okay. Councillor Sandu?
Are you just trying to take what I'm about to say as notes? I think this is a great process, and I wish this had have occurred every election, after every election. I think it really is important, and I like her structure of what she's touching on. And one of the things we heard in LGLA and AVICC was exactly this, was orientations for new councils. And whether or not there's one new council member or the entire slate, it's important to start fresh, have everything, the education part of this all done. So starting January of 2023, as much as council is prepared, as much as they can be. So this is a great start. And I still want to see our managers part of this one-on-one with the council, and whether it's a road trip and going to see the sites, but just an overall of what their departments do and whatnot. I think that's really important also to add to this. So thank you.
Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you very much. And I think it's timely, given some of the topics that were discussed at both AVICC and LGLA on the recent updates to the Local Government Act and the Community Charter, that all municipalities will have to look at codes of conduct within implementing within their structure. And if they choose not to have one, they have to submit why that would be. I think codes of conduct are a guiding principle to how we interact, how we debate, and how we do not agree, because many times we do not agree, but moving forward, we have structured debate, put our point across, and then own the outcome of the vote moving forward. So given the timely manner of those updates that are coming, I think this is imperative. And I agree that the tours by the managers of the various departments is incremental as well to a new councillor coming in who wants to get voted in and change the world. And by week 2, you realize that you can't change the world. But all training, whether you're a first timer, whether you're an 8th timer, is a great avenue for good structured governance.
Any other councillor, mayor have anything else to discussion? Yeah. I know that even just going to places like the sewer lagoon that I'd never gone to until I think it was about year 4, I think it was, and the water treatment, it was good to see those places instead of just hearing about them. So for a first time person, I can see how they can benefit, because I know myself, I came in and just kind of got my feet wet and just wrung it, and relied on those at the table to help to try to steer me. So I'm glad that this is being brought forward. And so the question now to our CAO is Mayor Day.
No, go ahead, Councilor O'Maka.
I was going to ask our CAO, do we have to have a vote on this?
You would have to have a council motion accepting the proposal.
To accept the proposal. And so did you wish to speak on it first, Mayor Day?
Yes, thank you. And so I was happily, I'm going to make that motion with the addition of that the new council have the opportunity to have a tour with department managers. as
Okay.
part of this, but not part of this orientation, but as an add-on to this orientation.
And Councillor Austin, were you seconding that? And did you wish to speak or just seconding it? Okay, so with that addition, are we in favor of going ahead with Allison Habkirk for the new orientation workshop? All in favor? Yeah, passed unanimously. Thank you. Look forward to that. So the second one we're going to go to is the Cowichan Climate Hub regarding a request to remove fossil fuels and implement low carbon compliance to all new construction. And I read through it and I thought, well, some may apply to us with new homes, but we do not have natural gas here. And so I don't know how this would affect us, but if our CAO wants to give us a little brief on it.
Yeah, I think it's just for information, really, as it stands now. It doesn't affect the town. as you
Okay.
indicated.
So we'll just file as received.
I guess the only issue is there are people wanting natural gas to be brought in here. So do you want to still encourage that, or, there's a way of maybe not permitting that? I don't know. It's up to you.
Would that have to be something through our official community plan
That could be, yes.
or bylaw? Okay. Councillor Sandhu?
Thank you. Is this like one Cowichan?
No, this is a new organization that I've never heard of, called Cowichan Climate Hub.
Okay.
Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to try to be diplomatic about this. When we look at the new implemented step code that has been implemented in BC for buildings, etc., and we constantly complain about affordable housing and the lack of rental housing and the lack of acceptable housing for all classes, to add other stumbling blocks within development, I think does nothing to bring that to closure. I do understand the need to look at reducing our carbon footprint. We're hearing constantly updates from the federal and provincial government on electrification, whether it be vehicles, whether it be heat pumps. But then we don't want Site C down. And I don't understand how we're going to go clean if we don't provide clean. I don't want to berate this because I do accept that there are concerns within our GHG footprint, but 80% of our area emissions are from transportation. When we can have transportation that's more reliable, as transit, for instance, car sharing, to reduce that GHG emission, I think that would go far further than what is proposed here, given that natural gas, even though it is one of the cleanest burning fossil fuels, is not provided to our area. I do appreciate the work that they do, but I don't believe that it applies in our jurisdiction.
Councillor Austin was next.
Yes, I was just going to say, I've talked to Fortis BC quite often over the years at conferences and things, and there's no way they want to come down Highway 18 with very few homes along it. It's too expensive. So I don't think, unless there's a lot of homes start to get built along Highway 18, I don't think we need to worry about it for a while. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Day?
All I was going to say to add to the comments already made, that our official community plan already has some guidelines for carbon emissions and stuff like that working into the future. So I think that's good enough for now.
Thank you. And so we will just file that one. And now the next one is by Paul Gregory, Senior Ocean Campaigner of Nature Canada, regarding a letter of support. And I think all of you had that. And what do we wish to do with it? Mayor Day?
I'm going to assume that this is going to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I'm not sure. It's put forward as a resolution, but it's certainly not provincial. And I just don't know if it, besides support, if it actually calls for any action that's significant.
Councillor Sandu?
I think just reading it, they're just wanting municipalities to recognize the 30th anniversary of World Ocean Day on June 8th, 2022, and support national and international efforts to protect 30% of the ocean by 2030. So that's what the bottom of it says, is just a resolution. So. But I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Okay, thank you. And seconded by Councillor McGonigal. Are you giving you peace? Okay, so now we're moving on to reports, and the first one is the Director of Finance, the financial report for the period ending March 31st of 2022. Ms. Gill?
Thank you, Councillor Bamaka. Okay, so the financial statements for the 3 months ending March are attached. The 2021 numbers are finalized, but they're subject to the auditors, which is ongoing at present. The meeting date for the auditors to meet with council to present the financial statements has been set for May the 10th. The 2022 budget figures are still not finalized. I'm still waiting for and setting up mill rates for collection of taxes for other governments. The financial plan and tax rate bylaws will be presented to council at the next council meeting on April the 28th for first, second, and third reading. And as will the tax rate bylaw. The Lakeview Park opened on Saturday, this last weekend here, and the reservations, open for reservations for the rest of the summer camping season. There was some sort of a power outage, but the entire summer is pretty much booked now. So it was a very busy day, and it's going to be a good season for camping, it looks like.
Good. I asked one question. Actually, it's not even a question. It was just an observation. Was that we projected $19,500 in the budget that would come in from business licenses. And I was surprised to see 27,190. So 39%. So is that an increase of more businesses in our community?
There has been new business licenses that we've been issuing, but there are also some that we're finding are no longer in business that were billed. So they're slowly trickling in, and those will be removed off that balance. So yeah, it'll be more accurate towards the end of the year when we've caught up on all the collections and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Mayor Day.
Yeah, just a quick question. The visitor center revenue went from $10,000 in 2021 to $15,000. Is that just an increase from Destination BC to cover costs?
Yes, it
Thank
is.
you.
Were there any other questions for Ms. Gill? I guess anyone has any, they can direct it to her later. So thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
And so now we have the building inspector's report. Did Joseph want to speak on that, or is it just here? Oh, Councillor Sandu's yawning. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Sandu? Okay, you're not on mute, so I thought maybe you were gonna ask something.
Sorry.
That's okay. And so we'll just look at this as just information that we got some building going on. Looked really good last year, previous years, and then it kind of went slow trickle. Okay, so the next one that we look like we need to have approved is the January 2022 fire incident report. And so I'm looking for somebody to make that motion to approve it in the amount of $9,821.11. Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Sandu. Were there any questions? Councillor McGonigal?
If I may, just through you to the CAO or our finance director. The alarm's activated. There's a couple there again, and we do have a bylaw on that for a number of times throughout calendar year. Are those being tracked? Just a question. Is that through the fire department or through our departments?
Through the fire department, it's being tracked.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so this will go to our regular council meeting though for final approval though.
We will make the motion here and then it will
Motion here.
be forwarded.
So, okay, so all in favor? Okay, so passed. We'll send that one on. And the next one is the February 2022. And that is to approve $7,923.62. I'm looking for someone to approve it. Councillor Sandu, seconded by Mayor Day. Was there any comments or questions? So call the question to approve it and move it on. I'm seeing two hands. Oh, 3, 4. Okay, so move that one on for February. And now we're moving on to the March of 2022. And so I'm looking for a motion to approve the incident report for $6,441.63. Moved by Councillor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Sandu. Any questions on that? So I call the question to approve it. And all in favor, we'll move that one on. And so the next one is the emergency management planning. So would that be going back to Joseph? Or
Yeah,
CA?
actually, I think it's the mayor who wanted.
The mayor, okay, Mayor Day?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So we had our March emergency management planning meeting. April Diver was able to make it this time from the CVRD to describe to us what was going on at the CVRD and as well some of those things we needed to do. Mr. Fernandez was asked to forward the names of the individuals and their contact information for EOC staffing. And from there, those persons will be enrolled free of charge into 2 courses. There's a 3-hour introduction course and a 2 hours a week for 4-week sessions for the EOC staff to attend. And I'll let Mr. Fernandez tell us where we're at there. And also we discussed what type of equipment would be needed to establish our EOC. And we had a round table there, and we're going to need 4 laptops that are dedicated to emergency management in our EOC, which is going to be the new town hall or the renovated town hall. And one topic that wasn't thought about was a set of radios for the people for the EOC, so that the emergency staff could communicate with our public works and other town management wherever they are. And after the courses are taken, a little bit out of order, then they'll commence with tabletop exercises where Miss Diver will come to the town and go through emergency situations and and help the staff work through what, where, and when will happen when an emergency strikes. And we're going to continue to meet monthly. So I don't know if Mr. Fernandez wants to add anything else to that.
Yeah, just the thing that if this guy send me the courses that our employees can take, the emergency planning committee can take. I think there's a special one for yourself, Your Worship, that you may be interested in doing, which is dealing with not administration, but just the overall management of it. The one other thing I would like to talk on is, speak on is the CBRDA has engaged a consultant to look at a new regional emergency management organization. They have looked, and the consultant has looked at 3 options. And at the present time, they're leaning to keeping basically the existing process in place. That's a recommendation from the various CAOs, which would mean that it would be a department of the CBRD, with them running off basically the entire process, with municipalities dealing with local emergencies. And they looked at option 2, which was a standalone and independent organization, which would have meant another bureaucratic agency that would be all by itself, running on its own steam, being funded by basically all of us. And the third option was one which was a mix of option 1 and 3, which didn't seem to get a lot of support, neither did number 2. So this is going to the regional board, I think, for a decision, and then it'll come back to council. So that's the latest on the regional emergency management process.
Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you very much. Yeah, piggybacking on that, you will recall that a resolution came forward with some implements within our emergency plan that were not up to snuff, according to the province, through the audit that they did throughout all municipalities. And the financial implications of the standalone municipalities taking that on, staffing, etc., was weighed by each municipality, whether they would continue on as a complete separate entity or look at a regional entity moving forward. We as a council made a resolution to look at that moving forward as a regional entity, keeping in mind that we are still responsible for our local emergencies. And that is the implementation of our own EOC within, as Mayor Day said, the renovated town hall. All municipalities endorsed the regional emergency operations residing within the CBRD, with again, them having their own entity. So moving forward, we'll see what the discussion is at the board table. I believe the initial discussion was leaning towards what our CAO had mentioned residing within the regional district. Ms. Diver did make a presentation to us at one time earlier in the year on this with those gaps that were shown within the audit. If we do need those again, I'm sure they could be resent for approval. And there was a financial implication shown to each municipality and the justification of utilizing that within a regional template. That is one of the increases in the tax requisition this year for our area within emergency planning, is the establishment of that regional entity.
Any more comments by anyone else? Okay, so then we will move on to Public Works and Recreation report.
Director of Finance at the grants. What's an item before that? Grants and aid.
No, oh, sorry, yes, Director of Finance about the 2022 grant and aid request. Ms. Gill?
So as the schedule there shows, we've received a grant and aid request from WildSafe BC They're requesting $1,000. Where they were given $750 in 2020 and 2021. We've also committed to a scholarship for $1,000. And usually the LCS dry grad request comes in a little bit later. So the annual budget there for grant and aids is unchanged from the prior year of 3,000 and 2,000, or the requests right now, plus what's already been given out for the scholarship, the 1,000 will make up 2,000 shown there. So it is the decision of council as to how much, if any, they would like to approve for Wild Safe BC.
Okay, and one question, how much does the LCS grad usually come and request?
It's normally around $500.
Thank you. Any members of council want to? Mayor Day?
Thank you. Just a question, because I may have missed out on it last year. Wild Safe BC, is there any comments from staff that that shows that that is a benefit to us, or an ongoing benefit? Because it's getting very close to looking like it should be a regular line item if it's an actual adds value to wildlife and human interactions. So I'll leave that for staff to comment.
Well, at this point, I'm not sure there is a benefit, but I think it's a trial and error thing. We've called them a couple of times to deal with issues, but I'm not sure if we're getting our full benefit yet.
When we brought this on, this was because of all the calls that were being called out in our community for bears, was it not?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Sandhu?
I just wanted clarity on what Wild Safe is, and $1,000. I mean, we have conservation to chase off bears. So I would sooner see that money go back into the 2022 budget for reallocation, and not support the $1,000 for Wild Safe CVRD. And that's a motion, if anybody wants to second it.
I'm not seeing a seconder, but I had a comment first from Councillor Austin and then Mayor Day.
I just wanted to say it was the CO, the conservation officer, forgot his name now, that came to us to ask for more money. So this is part of the conservation team. They said they have a lot of problems with bears in Lake Cowichan, the town itself. But I was not impressed when I heard that they took away a mother bear from Lake Park Estates and left the babies there to grow up and come back next year. Just so people know. Your mic's on, Ronnie. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings, because I even contacted him because I'd met him through the fishing game and all that, and had said something about people putting out their garbage early, and could volunteers go around and put little tags on their garbage cans and not get involved with the people or anything. And he never even got back to me, and he had given us his email address in order to contact him. So I was not terribly impressed with them, but I don't know how everybody else feels.
Mayor Day, you had a comment?
Well, I just have to ask the question, would this be a good affiliation if we were to keep up our contribution to help with the elk on the highway issue? Or is it strictly surrounding bears?
That's a good question. Councillor Sandhu?
Just a comment is, I feel this is kind of provincial, a provincial issue, not as much a municipality. I mean, how far does $1,000 go for bears, and what are they utilizing it for? So I truly don't want to see $1,000 going to Highway 18 for elk. I think that's not our mandate. That's not our area. And I know our community travels back and forth, but it's not our jurisdiction. So just a comment. Thank you.
Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you very much. I think the intent of the funding was to help with some of the bear calls that are rampant, especially harvest time of fruits and fruit trees, etc. The town itself was visited by those same officers on a number of fruit trees that resided within our parks areas, and were informed that we may be facing some fining if we did not take care of those by removing either the fruit or the tree itself. Those were removed in compliance with the request. And if you look at what used to be Bear Smart on the number of calls throughout the Cowichan Valley Regional District, it will show on little red dots or different colored dots the interactions between wildlife and whether it be garbage or fruit. I think it's a good educational program, if nothing else. They have on occasion gone around to different residences that have had their garbage out early. Perhaps what we should do is perhaps invite them again for an updated presentation and hold off on the grant and aid request until we do get clarification on the benefits from our contribution, how many calls were responded to, and there probably is a timeline that they're waiting on, but I think it could wait for at least another month until we got that update.
Right, I agree.
Ms. Gill?
So as part of their package, they did send an annual report. It's got quite a lot of information. So if, it's 17 pages. So if that would be helpful, we can scan and send that to all of council before the next meeting as well.
Or if I may, at our opportunity for coming in to sign the parcel tax review, we could review that as well, and then bring this back as further discussion to council for further consideration, if that bodes well with my colleagues.
I'll go back to Councillor Sandu because she made the original motion.
Yeah, I just had a question. So in that report, is there any direction like of what they've done in the town of Lake Cowichan?
It's been a while since I've skimmed it here. There is an executive summary and they do talk about the area that they've covered. And they do talk about Lake Cowichan and mention all the other areas that they're in. So I wouldn't want to comment without reading it further, but the information is all here for anybody that's wanting to look at it.
Okay, Mayor Day?
So as for grant and aids go, at this time, I'd like to move the $1,000 scholarship to LCS.
Seconded by Councillor McGonigal. And so are we in favor of moving the $1,000 scholarship and then bringing back the wild safe one at a later date then? Okay, so then we're looking to call the question on the $1,000 scholarship. All in favor? That one is passed, and then anyone who wishes to review the wild safe can do so at the office, and we'll bring it back at another committee of the whole. Would that be appropriate? Yes? Okay, thank you.
Next appropriate meeting.
Next appropriate one. Okay, thank you. So now we're going on to report for Public Works and Recreation.
There was nothing there.
There's nothing there. Okay, and that means the strategic planning too. They're just
a correction there. It should be tourism roundtable is the topic. It says roundtable, but it should be tourism roundtable.
okay. And so the strategic planning, there's nothing here.
Nothing other than.
Okay. And so and also the tourism roundtable, there is not either. There's no report.
No, I think it's going to be verbal. I think the mayor had
Is it
asked.
gonna be- Okay, and that's through the mayor?
Well, I had brought it to an agenda before and
Okay,
said I would look for a date First of all, can I just get a gauge for council whether or not they feel that would be a fruitful roundtable or bring us anything that we don't already know? Would we like to repeat that same process as last year?
That's to do with tourism. Right. Councillor Sandu?
So part of that roundtable then would be what the outline is for tourism 2022. Because I don't believe anything's been presented to council yet regarding the plans for the community.
Could I ask this, sorry, plans from our tourism manager? Is that what you're saying? I would think he would be at that roundtable.
I was just going to ask who would be at the roundtable besides members of council. And so would there be anybody else, or we're just going to start with just our information?
Last year we involved the Chamber of Commerce, the RCMP, members of our staff, and all of councils who could make it. And we could go back, our superintendent or CEO can go back and look at last year's invite list to figure that out. And I would like to suggest a date of May 9th, if that's far enough out for people to.
And what's the actual day?
That's a Monday.
A Monday? Okay. Councillor Sandu?
I'm unavailable Mondays and Tuesdays. Nothing until after 3 o'clock. So if we can have a time, or I just won't be able to attend. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, you'll be available after 3 or until 3?
Till after. I'm not available till after 3 p.m. on Monday and Tuesdays.
Mayor Day?
I was just going to ask Council McGonigal, is there anything happening at CVRD on Wednesday, May 11th? Yeah.
That's fine if we can accommodate the majority of people. If I may piggyback on that, I would encourage that we have a discussion on the Saywell parking, how it went last year, and if there's any improvements that may be looked at for the tourism season this year within that discussion, that may be appropriate as well, given some of the input that we had from last year. But if we schedule it and see who can attend and who cannot, I'm sure we'll be updated after the meeting itself with any recommendations.
Councillor Austin?
I was just going to say, could you do Monday, May 9th at 4 o'clock? Because our staff is still around till 4 o'clock. Would that work? I'm usually not available on Wednesdays, so we all have something. But that's just a suggestion, or you could do 3:30 or 3 o'clock or whatever. See who's available. If you don't want to do a night one, it'll be a Zoom, I presume.
You presume correctly.
I presume. Thank you.
Okay, we'll shoot for the Monday, May 9th at 4 p.m.
Okay. And
see what the response is.
can we I put a question out to our CAO about the rental of the ball field to the Tube Shack business?
Or the parking, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that going to continue again this year, or should they also be part of this discussion?
No, the plan is to continue the process.
Okay.
We had other plans, but I think at this stage of the game, it'll be the same as last year.
Okay. Thank you. So would anyone else have any other input for that? So we'll leave that with staff and the mayor then, and see how many can come to that meeting. And then we're going to move on now to some letters from the Otaki Twinning. And the first one is Ioko and Date City Hall regarding the proposed Otaki delegation. So if somebody wishes to speak on that one, either the mayor or Joseph.
Well,
Oops.
given this a fair amount, given this a fair amount of consideration, and not, there's still a mystery here as far where COVID will be at that time. And I just would love to hear any comments on whether or not that we could muster up enough homestay families between now and then. Probably could, but I just don't know what the sense is in the community about that. So love to hear the discussion around that.
Councillor McGonigal.
I know it's been a couple of years since we've been even able to discuss the Otaki twinning delegations going back and forth, but with Dr. Tam announcing that Canada's in the 6th wave now and not knowing what's going to happen in October, which would be the start of respiratory season, I would suggest that if they do intend on coming, that if the Kleck Center is not utilized at that time, that perhaps we could look at accommodations there. I'm not sure of the bookings in October, but probably full in October as well. And I don't think we have hotel accommodations sufficient for that number. Unfortunately, 18 people. Do we have 18 rooms in Lake Cowichan? In rental accommodations, in hotels, etc.? I don't know. I know we have 10 at the Riverside, but I think it's a little too soon, personally, but that's just me.
Somebody's got a little cat fight going on in the background there. Mayor Day?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about this and I had heard that Kleck was kind of booked up then. But there is also a possibility of maybe if they still wanted to come and do their regular sightseeing, because I knew they do spend time in Victoria and stuff, that, you know, the oceanfront in Cowichan Bay might be a venue and we could join them for a meal there one night or something like that, if they decide that they really want to come. So.
Councillor Sandhu?
I was just thinking, if they're still wanting to come, Honeymoon Bay Lodge and Retreat has 17 rooms. And I'm just wondering if, you know, I don't know if they're booked or whatnot, but if this is a go through, that would be another local place that could be looked at.
Councillor Austin?
Would we have to pay for these 18 rooms though? Like who pays for that? Normally, if they stay with people, I don't think there's a lot of money handed out. Just a question. And there are lots of rooms. There's 37 rooms. I think there's 37 rooms at the motel. Whether they would be busy at that time of year or not, I don't know.
Well, in their letter, they were asking whether they should stay at a hotel because of the related COVID. And then I think between the years that we didn't have enough students and then we had COVID, and if they're willing to come here, I'd really like to encourage it rather than see this twinning just go by the wayside. So I think if council's in agreement, we should have some correspondence with them if this is the wish of the table. Councillor McGonigal?
And I was going to suggest that correspondence from us to IACO regarding the lack of possible homestays and whether or not they would look at accommodations outside of homestays to continue their program. Give them the option of making that decision, finding it difficult to find homestays with the current COVID situation. People are still hesitant to accommodate strangers within their house. We saw that with the Kraken trying to find homestays for their hockey team and throughout last season, the struggles of trying to find homes to accommodate that as well. So just correspondence back suggesting that we would have difficulty finding homestays And if they still wish to come, we'll give them the options of the Forestry Center, for instance, also has accommodations if the RCMP aren't using it. Sorry, had to get that little dig in there. Or Honeymoon Bay, or even the CVI, which, although not here, would have enough rooms.
So we'll send that, leave that with staff then?
Yeah.
To draft the letter. Okay, thank you, Joseph. And the next one then is the English teaching position for Date City in Japan.
I can speak to that. Closing date for that was the end of last month. And 3 applications came in.
Oh.
And they have already done the interviews, as far as I can tell. And so a decision has still to be made. And hopefully one of our local persons will end up going there.
Well, that's good to hear, 3, because for a few years there, we couldn't find anybody. So I'm really happy that that's continuing. Thank you, Joseph.
Okay.
So going on then to new business is in-person meetings. So is that the mayor or our CAO?
Council, actually.
Okay. Mayor Day?
Yes, we had this conversation, I believe, probably a month or so ago, and we talked about increasing the bandwidth at the fire station, fire hall, and I hear that that has been done. So we do have the opportunity to now meet in person again at that location if council so desires. I, for one, would be in favor of that move if everybody else is comfortable with that, but leave that up to the rest of you.
Councillor Day, go first. Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you very much. I didn't hear who you were calling. You sort of cut out there. Our council bylaw amendment that we made expires at the end of April. So if we do not want to go into person, we would have to reinitiate online meetings within that amendment again. I personally would, given that we've accommodated in persons at ABICC and LGLA, I think it's time to give the public an opportunity to see what we look like outside of the Hollywood squares and come up and actually interact if we do have concerns, instead of trying to answer them on Facebook and every other expert social media outlet out there. If you can ask the question to those who make the decisions, I think it's best. So I would personally like to go back to in-person meetings, and if we need to do that within a resolution, I would certainly be prepared to support that.
Councillor Austin? I think I saw your hand up.
Do we need a resolution, or do we just all say yay or nay? Do you need a motion to do that?
No, I think you had a motion that expires at the end of April, so you don't really need a motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we were just looking for input.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to go back to in person. It would be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
And would this go at the end of April when it expires? Is that when we would resume?
That's right. Correct.
And Councillor Sandu, did you want to weigh in?
No, I agree that it's time we meet in person. If COVID stays outside our province and community, I'm all for getting back and reinstated into our community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I need some help here. Do we have to do a resolution?
I think we're good. Once
We're good?
once it expires, we'll just return to in-person meetings as per our original council bylaw.
And then if the situation changes again, then we'll go back and have to make a new resolution, right? Okay, thank you. So now the next one is an update on the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities. Would that be Mayor Day who put it on the agenda? Yes.
Yes, thank you. But I'll give way to Councillor Austin.
Councillor Austin.
Sorry, I wasn't sure who was going to go first. Councillor Sandu and I went on the excellent tour, a zero waste tour, which was really, really informative. The Mustard Seed manages the food recovery program with many local businesses and sponsors. They were saying up to 10,000 pounds of perishable food is rescued daily from Monday to Friday from restaurants and grocery stores. The operation is in a large warehouse, actually in a Esquimalt. It's amazing, well orchestrated, several employees as well as volunteers, and food recovery is a major part of the circular economy. Last year, they supplied food to 35,000 insecure households. The operation has food safe and HACCP kitchens with an on-site chef, and they're building 3 more to rent out. Say we wanted to rent them out to do canning for a weekend or something like that. And then we went on to the rebuilding part of the tour, where they're tearing apart an old building on 4th Street. But what they do is they sell some of the products within that building rather than just take them to the dump. And they're keeping the facade and keeping things out of the landfill, which is quite interesting. And one last thing was the recycle bins. They have these set of 3 recycle bins. I actually used them when I was there the day before. They have the different pictures on them, what you put in them, so people know. And it was really a good tour. We really enjoyed it. Perhaps Councillor Sandu has more to add on that.
No, I thought overall, us seeing what comes in from expired, they call it expired groceries from the grocery stores, and just where it gets sent to. They have a line in this warehouse where there's different people going through different stuff that's being delivered, and what's good and what's not good. And then the chef there will invent things to take to the schools in different places that the food is almost expired, but it's not. So he just magically makes what do they call that, fruit where they when you
Fruit leather.
Yes, fruit leather, different things like that that's given to the schools and whatnot. And overall, and then the waste management, that was interesting, the bins and whatnot that they've got around Victoria and that, and they have pictures as to what to put into it, what not to. They actually have cameras inside of it where they can see if they're filling up, and they're battery operated, and so they can see by their computers just how full these bins are and whatnot. So yeah, overall they're saying the garbage and whatnot is less. Everything's not being thrown in the garbage bin on the streets, and that's what they're aiming for, is that. So I think they're leading this and doing a great job.
So question to Councillor Sandu is when you were talking about putting the waste in, is that in the city of Victoria or just in the mustard seed locations?
Sorry, for the food that's brought there is from different grocery stores and restaurants that gets dropped off there at this warehouse, and then they have volunteers that go through it, and then they package the stuff, and then it gets delivered and whatnot.
And so when you were
talking, it's something like Refresh Cowichan. They've now gone more into the marketplace, but they took food that was going to be thrown out from Walmart, Thrifty, Save on Foods, and they take it to their location and whatnot. They go through it, the same type of thing, and then they actually can go through the stuff, and then they turn around and sell it for a lot cheaper, but it's perfectly good food, perfectly. And one of the things they talked about was dairy, was that the expiry date, there's nothing wrong with the dairy, even with the expiry date, it goes long past that. And that's the unfortunate part of what grocery stores are doing, is they're just dumping and wasting. So this is where this organization and others across BC are trying to take that from going into the landfill and redoing it so that it can be, so others can have fresh food.
Yeah, that's good, because I don't think any of us look at the expiry date and go, oh, it expired last night, and dump our milk down the sink. So I know at the grocery store, it's different, but it's good to see that it's all being recovered and used. That's
Like in the
interesting.
grocery stores, if somebody came up with a 4 liter of milk and said, oh, I don't want that now, that gets dumped. That doesn't get put back onto the shelf or anything. That type of stuff just automatically gets dumped. So, yeah,
Yeah,
quite an eye opener.
yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So the Mayor Day,
Yeah, myself as well as the rest of you got to attend many of the sessions that were offered to us, and it was great to be back out there. The one thing I attended the mayors and chairs luncheon with Mayor Lisa Helps, and she hosted that luncheon. And the agenda was 3 questions for those in the room. How has your time as elected official affected you during COVID, operationally, politically, or personally? And it went around the room, and there was a lot of interesting stories. And I just found that most of the communities had a lot in common from the COVID experience, meeting virtually and interacting with the public on social media and other ways like that too. So it was interesting, but good to know that we weren't alone in the path we had to lead through COVID. So that was the highlight for me, as well as seeing everybody.
Councillor McGonigal.
Thank you very much. I also attended many of the sessions, not prior to the conference. I didn't do the zero waste or those tours, but the First Nations governance one I attended was very informative and very embracing to see First Nations getting their own self-governance in some treaty nations, and then participating in regional governments, for instance. If you look at the regional district of Alberni-Clayoquot, which has recently renamed themselves to a First Nations name, and I will not try because I will butcher it. But just to see the collaboration, and the major point that came across from there was the buzzword of consultation has now morphed into the new buzzword of implementation, given the latest legislation in the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples within the province, and how that will impact local government decision-making and consultation moving forward. And it was also the first time that I have seen Director Markman in person since the by-election to replace Mary Marcotte, who unfortunately had to leave due to illness. And might I say that he is much taller in person. But it was nice to interact with various communities and to find out that we're not all that different, whether we're Prince George, whether we're Victoria. We've all got the core problems that all municipalities and regional districts have. Too many asks and not enough money. So I will do my plug again that the taxation system that is currently in place is antiquated and not sustainable. When we are constantly pressured with downloading, whether it be from senior levels of government or our own decisions on voluntary downloading, that is the impact on the residents that we represent. So very eye-opening, some of the comments within all the seminars, and totally enjoyed it.
Good. Okay, so then we'll move on to the LGLA, Local Government Leadership Association, to, if anyone did attend who would like to give us an update. Councillor Sandhu.
Yeah, I found this one to be really, really educational on a lot of levels. And one of the many things talking about was asset management and every municipality feels the same way, like everyone's tired and overworked. And they talked about that COVID doesn't belong at the political level. It belongs at the health level. And that was really an over sounding comments people were saying, just that your government, your residents are looking to you as a local government, that we make these decisions when the province put the health orders in place. And unfortunately, at times, we were blamed for different things and not leading our community the right way. But what we were following was the province and the provincial health orders. So that was important to hear. The other one I found interesting was the city of Nelson talking about their snow removal policy and how important it is to be very clear on the details of it. And because they have a policy that is very specific on how they plow the road and where the snow goes, how it's angled into locations. And they had somebody that actually parked in this location and got out, didn't walk along the road where it was plowed to get onto the sidewalk, but went through the snowbank. And this person sued the city of Nelson. And initially they lost, and then it was challenged again, and then it ended up going to the Supreme Court. But what the lawyer said on this is, be very specific in your snow removal policy as to how you basically where you push your snow and how you push it, type of thing. So I think it'd be important for staff to kind of make contact the city of Nelson and get the back history of this and look at their policy overall, because I heard a lot of people at my table were saying they actually are going to take this back to their council and regional district, because the wording has to be very specific to protect the town of being sued. So that's just one of them. But cybersecurity, we talked about the challenges of having, your tax information, addresses, name of residence in the system, and to make sure your information is backed up and protected. The other one, municipal affairs, talking about the new election rules that are changing. So they just touched on that briefly. And Dr. Henry was our first speaker. And one thing she said, and this resonated with me, was, when in a crisis, you need to do things differently. We take all opinions to make a decision. And don't delay in making decisions with the best information we have. So that really resonated with me on a lot of levels, is the information we get. If that's the best information we have, then we have to make the decision that we at the time. So anyway, yeah, I just thought it was an overall great conference, and we miss Lorna. It was great. For me, it was great to reconnect with the fellow counselors that were able to be there. I think that for me was a really big highlight for LGLA was that time, and just connecting. I think that was really important. So again, great conference. Thank you.
Good. Mayor Day.
Thank you very much. And attending LGLA was a very, very educational experience. I haven't been to one of those before. It goes far deeper than ABICC and UBCM sessions that they put on there. So it was just I'm a bit of a geek about this stuff. So it was really an honor to go there and dive down deep and do some table exercises with people from other communities. And at one point during that conference, I thought to myself, this is probably only the first or the second time, or maybe third time, I've been in the same room with fellow counselors. So that was cool. I didn't realize that how much that meant to the process, and I can't wait to get back to in-person meetings. So, and it was I think I got the most from Bonnie Henry's speech, just the questions she was asked and the way she answered them and how she explained that they arrived at their decisions. Just really taught me a lot, and her calmness through it all. That's the same person you saw on TV every day, and it was amazing. Really high quality person that was put in charge in the province of COVID-19, and I applaud the premier for not taking the lead on that and going to the best person in the lineup. So yeah, it was really, it was an honor to be there, and she got several standing ovations. So yeah, so thank you very much for my travel companions.
And Councillor
Thank you.
McGonigal.
I think the difference between ABICC and LGLA is the learning opportunity as opposed to the function opportunity at ABICC, where you're dealing with resolutions and different topics. The LGLA is a learning academy for elected officials, whether it's codes of conduct, which was discussed, whether it was the new elections act with the changes in that, whether it was MIA or the Municipal Finance Authority giving updates on how the funds within our Municipal Finance Authority are accommodated and within all municipalities. But the one thing that came from, and I'll go back to Dr. Bonnie Henry, was her comment that said, we can disagree, but let's not be disagreeable. So we don't have to always accommodate the same thought process, but we should also respect that thought process, whether it differs from ours or not. And I think that's where some of the past 2 years has been very challenging, trying to accommodate the disagreement without being disagreeable. So that's the one thing that I took away from the whole conference. Aside from reconnecting with people face to face, without moving around on Hollywood Squares from the bottom to the left, just to, and then again, interact with our fellow councillors in a learning environment, not a governing environment.
I saw Councillor Austin.
I might as well step in too. I've been to a few of these. I really love them. I learn a lot. It was hard for ABICC and LGLA being so close together. I had to remember which one I was at the time, but and one of the main things they talked about too was infrastructure. I think all communities have infrastructure problems and need funds, climate disasters, asset management, as Councillor Sandhu had said, and the social media. They talked about that quite a bit too. And I've been to lots of those that tell you to be careful when you're on social media. And there's some of them that aren't on it at all. So it was wonderful seeing everybody. We sat with different people from Parksville and Nelson and Smithers, and they have the same problems we do with all sorts of different things. So it makes you feel good that you're not alone. And I just love those things. And I know people say to us, why do you go to these things? It costs money, but it's well worth it if you want us to be educated to learn how to govern this community. And that's what they brought it to the forefront. That's what that is there for. So they're wonderful. And thank you for letting me go. I love it.
Wonderful. Yeah, even if you walk away with one or two new things that you learned, it's worth it, definitely. Okay, anyone else? Go, Councillor Sandhu.
Sorry, this is something, this was at the UPCM. This hour has 60 plus minutes. And one of the themes coming out of it was, don't worry about what people think of you. It's none of your business. So take that to the bank, okay?
There you go. Yeah. And if you worry about what they think of you, the last thing you should be in is politics. Okay, so we will move on to notices of motion, and there's infrastructure priorities. Would that be yourself, Mayor Day?
Yes, thank you. And it sounds like a really serious topic, but I was just like to plant the seed for staff that maybe at some point in the next month or two that they could produce some form of not a vague report, but a general report on the infrastructure priorities that they believe we should address in our communities in sort of order of preference, order of magnitude as far as cost and stuff. Just for council to get a sense of what's out there. At one time, a previous superintendent of public works discussed the infrastructure deficit in the water in water lines alone. So just wouldn't mind seeing some form of report and with some rough estimates, and just so that council can be aware of what's in front of us. So
That would be
I'll
good
leave it at that.
for new council coming aboard too, to know what they're going to be faced with.
Doesn't have to be too in-depth, just something similar to the sidewalk one we did several months ago.
CAO?
You wanted cost added to that too, or just the items?
An idea of cost. I know you can't narrow it down to an exact number.
Okay, so then we'll move on then to question period, which is a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker and maximum time allotted 15 minutes. This is to be limited to items on the agenda tonight. And so members of the public can phone in at 250-749-6681, extension 102. Or you can email to general@lakecowichan.ca. Once again, you can phone in any questions or comments at 250-749-6681, extension 102, or email to general@lakecowichan.ca. And so we'll take, 5 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay, 3 minutes. Just wait for Counselor Austin to come back.
Had to fix my light here. Jeez.
So were there any emails or phone calls?
None at all.
Nothing? Okay, so I guess with that, then we're looking for adjournment.
Woohoo.
Counselor Sandu, seconded by Counselor Austin. All in favor? Thank you. And thank you for the support. I actually made it through the whole meeting and I was thinking,
Thank
I
you.
might
Good job.
yeah, it was wonderful. Actually could pay attention. It was great. Thank you so much
Thank
for all
you.
your support, my recovery. Good night.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.